Hey everybody, we're back again with another Facebook Live Readers Advisory session. My name is Trisha and I'm a librarian at the Tampa Hillsborough County Public Library in Tampa, Florida. I'm joined by my colleague Allie again this week, and we are going to be doing live book recommendations for the next half hour. So if you give us a genre or an author or a title that you really liked, we will give you something that you will also hopefully love. Fingers crossed. So just put it in the comments below. Let us know what you like, or what you've been reading. And I don't know if you guys joined us last week. We did tease that we were going to be talking about Banned Books Week this week because it is Banned Book Week. So Banned Book Week, it's every year in September, and it's by the almost in Alabama, by the American Library Association. They keep track of any book that has a challenge, or if someone feels that it should be removed from a high school or classroom or a public library, school library, and then they compile a list. So we're going to talk about top banned books. Okay. I already know yours. Do you just want to tell me, or do you want to let me guess and see if I get it right?
Are you speaking about my favorite banned book?
Favorite or the one that you recommend the most? I feel like I could. Are those two different?
Is this a trick question? That's just throw out a title and let's see. Well, I think you're right.
One of the two is definitely The Giver by Lois, Lowry, right?
Yes.
So is that your favorite, or is that the one you recommend the most?
I think it's both. It's hard for me to say a favorite because, you know, as we talk about more books and another title is going to be brought up, I'm always like, oh yeah, I really like that one too, and oh, I forgot that one is, you know, frequently challenged. So oftentimes it's like, yes, that's another favorite. I have many favorites. I don't like to just pick one, but I do tend to recommend The Giver repeatedly. I know that's one of my go-to books to recommend to people because I just really love the themes that are in the books. It's written on kind of a middle school level, so I think that, you know, a younger audience can successfully read the book, but because of those strong themes that are just throughout it, that adults can read it and get a lot out of it as well. I mean, it's a book that I read, I think I've told you before, I read it usually like once a year because I really, really like that book.
That often, really?
I do. Usually this time of year in September, I mean, I have a paperback on my shelf at home that I will go to and I will read the story of Jonas and the community where he grew up and how, you know, memory is so important to that community, and just the entire story.
I'm impressed. I didn't realize you were
I'm
that committed to it.
I am.
I tend to agree with you. I don't know that I would say that I have a favorite. There are some that I've read multiple times and keep coming back to. A couple of those would be To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, which I read the first time in high school and did not appreciate it. But then when I read it years later, was able to get much more out of it. And then also The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Okay. By Stephen Chabotsky, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. Those are definitely two that I've read multiple times that come up a lot. From the 2017 list, I will say that my favorite book was The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, because I just listened to it this year. I know I'm a year late, but I did it to be prepared for the movie coming out next month. But I thought it was really well done, and I was very impressed with the way she handled a sensitive subject.
That's a book, actually, The Hate You Give. I started it, and it's on my to-complete reading shelf. I had to stop midway through, and I think it's because you kind of have to be in the right mindset to be reading it, and I think just at that time, you know, I'm very busy. I have 3 kids. I wasn't able to really dedicate the amount of time that I'd like to really be able to read it and take in everything that she was saying in that book. But I was enjoying it, and I will go back to it because it is one that, you know, once I start a book, I don't like to necessarily stop it midway through, so I'll be going back to that one.
You don't like to do it, but you will.
I will if I'm not enjoying the book at all. I've come to the point where I realize that, you know what, I'm not going to waste my time on something that I don't like. There's so many books out there that, hey, if it's not working for you, put it down, move on to the next one. Why waste your time?
I haven't got to that point yet. I still like to, I like the completion. So if I start a book, I still really try to finish it. But I applaud that you can do that because I do think it slows down my reading sometimes. But, all right, so what about banned books that stand out to you, or
let's see. I was gonna say Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I know that one has been challenged a lot, and it's a classic that as I've said before, I like fantasy. I like different realms, the different world building. So that's one that I think is a great book that I love reading. Let's see. Let me actually bring up. Do you have it up right now? I was going to say some of the banned books list.
I do. I have the one from this year, and then we can go back because they frequently do top 100 out of a decade.
Mm-hmm.
But I will tell you something that I think is interesting for Banned Book Week that I noticed, and it kind of came up this year.
Mm-hmm.
The number one most challenged book this year was 13 Reasons Why, which I believe is Jay Asher.
Yes,
is the author.
It's a YA book. I've read it.
Yes, but it came out, I want to say 2013?
It's
Or
probably
15? It's definitely a couple of years old.
it's older than that. Sorry, keep going. Keep going.
It's older, I agree. I think it may be 2013. But it's number one on the list this year after the resurgence from the Netflix show.
That's what I was gonna say,
which I think is very interesting, that how pop culture is kind of coming back into, Netflix is releasing the series, and then everyone says, oh, I didn't read it when it came out, let's read it now, and then it's at the top of the list.
And I've noticed that a lot on Netflix. Some of the original movies that they're making, it's based off of a lot of YA books that I've watched the Netflix, and I'm like, oh, I remember seeing that title, and now I'm gonna go add it to my reading list. And if I don't like it, I'm gonna put it down and go to the next one. But I think it is introducing more readers out there to different books.
And yeah, kudos to Netflix. They just did that, actually. It was To All the Boys I've Loved Before, I believe.
Yes, that's
a
the
series
one
that they just released, which I've heard really good things about. I haven't watched it yet, but I have definitely heard very
Book
good
is
things.
good, and the TV.
Is it 2013? I feel like it is. For 13 Reasons Why. 2007. It was 2007.
Wow.
That's
You're a little bit off on that, but
a lot older than I thought it was.
I was gonna say I thought it was a while ago that I had read it. But I think one thing that we should mention too about the banned books list is that the 2018 list hasn't come out yet. So that's why we're going to be referring to the 2017 list, because that is our most recent list that we have to look at to see, which titles have been challenged.
Yes. And it's kind of nice that our Facebook Live fell during this week because it is a celebration of the freedom to read. That's what our Readers Advisory is for. And that's kind of what we're doing, and that's basically the entire purpose of Banned Book Week is to, celebrate your freedom to read whatever you would like. So I know several of our libraries have displays, so if you're interested in any of the books that we're talking about, or if you've missed some and haven't read them, you can get them from your local library. And also September is National Library Card Sign-Up Month, so if you haven't got your library card yet, make sure to do that. We want to make sure everybody in the county has a library card. Oh, interesting. I don't know if I told you this. I accidentally read a true crime book. I know
you just stumbled into it?
I did. I know that came up last week, and someone was asking for recommendations. I thought it was just a YA book, but no, it was a true crime book about it was about a crime that happened in Oakland. The crime was in 2013. Maybe that's why it's stuck in my head. But it's called The 57 Bus. It's very well done, and it's very. It comes at it from the point of view of both the person responsible and the victim. So it's very good at having you look at both sides of the story and kind of think about things that you maybe wouldn't think about, or that I wouldn't necessarily think about. You just automatically, when you hear something terrible happens, you go, oh, that's terrible. Who would do that? But the author actually goes into it and says, well, let's look at who did it and what his past was. So it was very interesting for that. I would recommend it. I think it's a very good true crime book. But it was an accidental read. I like it when that happens. I feel like it's serendipitous when you just stumble into something.
Because you might not have chosen it, if you knew kind of what the genre was going into it. So it is nice having that surprise.
That's true.
Do we have any questions coming in yet?
We don't have any questions yet. So again, we'll throw out there. We're happy to answer your questions if you put them down in the comments below. If you like a book or you want to read alike for an author that you've been reading recently, put them down in the comments. We're happy to answer and take those questions for you. Or we'll just keep talking about books that we like, because we can do that too. That was your cue to tell me a book that you like.
That's what I figured, but I was just going because I wanted to see.
You were like, yes, that was my cue, and I ignored it.
I did. No, I'm just so involved. I wanted to say one of the other books that I really like is, I'm a huge Tolkien fan, and so Tolkien's work, The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, they have been challenged in different arenas in the past. So that's another book that I always recommend. I've even visited New Zealand where they filmed some of the films, and
was that the reason that you went to New Zealand?
it's not the only reason. It's a beautiful country, but I mean, if you're in New Zealand, go to Middle Earth.
I will admit that I did not realize that you were quite that committed of a fan.
I am.
But good to know. And as you know, I haven't read any of those books because I don't really like fantasy. So I would like to go to New Zealand though, but not for that.
Well, you have to read the books first, and then you can travel. How about we make that deal?
Are you gonna buy my ticket if I read the book?
That's not gonna happen.
All right, you got me excited. Interesting, and I did not know this. The Game of Thrones series on HBO, part of that is filmed in Croatia. I didn't know.
I think they filmed in several different locations.
Several of them are in Croatia.
Oh, well, that's a nice little tidbit that I'll take with me going forward.
I didn't know. Right, let me see if I can refresh my screen and see if we have a question.
Okay.
I recently purchased Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, but haven't started it yet. Have either of you read it? If so, what did you think? I have not read Children of Blood and Bone. This is an Allie book all the way. So if she hasn't read it, I'm sure it's on her list. I will say that I've heard amazing things about it. And it was the book that was chosen from the vote for Jimmy Fallon's, I believe, The Tonight Show Book Club.
Oh.
So he had 6 books and let the audience vote, and that was the one that won. So I've heard really, really good things about it. I also believe that's a YA fantasy, so that is all you.
It is, and that's one that, like, the cover alone makes me want to read this book.
It is a very good cover.
It's just like the girl's hair on the cover. If you haven't seen it, it's just kind of like a shocking, I guess I would say white blonde, and it's just like up really high, and you see like the eyes, and it's just kind of an intense look at you, and I'm like, oh, it really grabs my attention seeing it on the shelf. I have not read it either, but it is one that I do want to read coming up. But to recommend as far as read-alikes, Marie Lu. I don't know if, are you familiar with Marie Lu? I know I've probably mentioned this author to you before because
Legend?
she has, yes, the Legend series. It's like Legend, Elite, and there's one more in that series. That's a really good one. And then there's the Young Elites. She also does that series. So I think Marie Lu.
Hang on.
Our
sound
technical difficulties.
I just don't want it to fall on your head because I feel like that's going to distract you if that happens. So let me just put that back up there. You're welcome. See
I
how
thought
I
I
look out
heard
for you?
something over my shoulder, but the true professional, just carry on.
Well, I just didn't want it to fall on you, so.
And
You're
let's
welcome.
see. Thank you. Always looking out for me, Trisha.
Oh, I will say, coming kind of back to Children of Bone, or Children of Blood and Bone, which I think you need to read because I have heard a lot of good things about it. And I think it's the first book in the series too.
Yeah.
But after your Sarah J. Maas recommendation, my sister has now put all of the ebooks, has checked them all out. So I'm sure I'll be hearing about that.
I was hoping we could work Sarah J. Maas into this one as well. So thank you for bringing it up.
I know that you like to
the
put it in
only
there.
one that brought it up.
Oh, we have another comment. Hang on. So Rachel said that she is reading Intensity by Dean Koontz. About 30 pages left, and it's nuts. Can we elaborate a little bit? Nuts in a really good way, nuts in a bad way? Would we recommend it to other readers? What are we looking at?
where there's some twists in there, you didn't see it coming, that, you know, I think, is it a recommendation?
Or is it I didn't see that coming and I don't like it?
It's not where I thought the plot was going.
I've read those books as well. I'm gonna give it a second and see if that comes up, but yeah, I haven't read Nuts in a Crazy Good Way. All right, that's a good. I think that's a good endorsement. I would feel confident recommending that to someone. Intensity by Dean Koontz. Nuts in a Good Way. Crazy good way.
It's always if you have like a one-liner to sell people on a book. You know, if you say it's like this with, if this book and this book had a child, it would be this. You know, I think that's good. So Nuts in a Good Way. Good recommendation.
Do you have a book that you frequently describe as if this book and this book had a child, it would be this book? Because I'm really curious to see what that would be.
Now that you put me on the spot, I'm trying to think of. It'll come to me.
But you do
come back to that
but
one.
You do regularly have a book that you recommend like that?
Well, yeah. If I have a book that I have in front of me, I'll say, "Oh, it's like this one and that one."
Okay.
Yeah. You don't do that?
Am
I the only one? I don't know.
I don't think I've ever done that, but I'm sure other people have.
Well, start doing it. It's a good way to sell a book or an author, just like with Rita Likes.
But see, that's the good thing about the library. I don't have to sell the books because you can just try it, take it home. If you don't like it, bring it back.
Well, I mean, sell it to the customer
try it again.
to get them to check it out, to find that book maybe that they weren't looking for, but you know they need to read.
They need to read. Okay.
They need to read.
You need to read this. I feel like that's. I'm gonna print that out and put it in your office. That just says you need to read Sarah J. Maas if you have not. I'm gonna get you like a fan club membership or something.
Oh well, thank you. I'd appreciate that. That'd be wonderful. I may or may not receive the e-newsletters that she puts out once a month that tells me about all of her upcoming events and books. So, but I feel like that's pretty normal.
Moving on, since we all clearly know Allie's favorite author ever. Yeah, so moving on.
Other books that you'd recommend that have been on banned book lists, that have been challenged. Which ones can you think of?
I'm trying to think what's on there this year. Let me go back to our list and see. It's always impressive to me where you have old books, and I know we talked about the Netflix bringing it back, but even just books where there's not really a thing you can pinpoint that to say, oh, this is why it's on the list. Like To Kill a Mockingbird, which I get that it's a lot of times required reading for schools.
Right. Is that where you first read it?
Yes, Allie.
Same with me.
No, we talked about this earlier. I said I read it in high school and didn't appreciate it.
Oh, maybe I wasn't listening.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty.
Okay.
Yes, I first read it in high school, but I did not appreciate it. So I read it again as an adult when I could get much more out of it.
Right.
I think it is really well written. I have not read Harper Lee's Ghost at a Watchman. I haven't decided if I'm going to yet or not. I can't commit. I've heard mixed reviews, and I'm just not sure that I want to ruin To Kill a Mockingbird.
That's understandable. I haven't read it either, so can't give you any feedback on that. Let's see. Animal Farm by George Orwell. Have you read that one? I have. I enjoyed it. That's one that's frequently challenged as well. So that's one that I like to recommend. And sometimes if it's for a high schooler, because to me, I consider it a quick read because it's kind of a thinner book. It's not as long, but I mean there is a lot of depth in writing.
But it is one that's frequently assigned in high schools, right? Did you read it in high school? I feel like it's kind of an assigned English class type book.
It is. It is often assigned. I read it either in high school or in college, but I just read it on my own because
you're an overachiever.
I don't know. There's just sometimes. I mean, I remember there was one summer I went to the library and I read all of Shakespeare's plays. I wasn't assigned it, I know, but I just really, wanted to read Shakespeare, I guess. Is that strange? Your face is telling me it's strange, even though you're not saying anything.
It's
so
impressive,
I
but
that.
Wait, you did this in college?
No, I think it was the summer between high school and college.
Okay.
I guess I had a lot of free time. I don't know.
It's very impressive. Don't get me wrong. I'm just okay. So yes, I have not read Animal Farm, and only the assigned Shakespeare.
I hear it, so I'm guessing it's falling again. Okay.
Yeah, it might come back and attack you, but you know, it'll be okay. Yeah, so no Animal Farm. I'm actually surprised because I looked back through quite a few of the lists when the 2017 list came out, and I'm surprised that the Game of Thrones series is not on there. I feel like that would be something that came up, but maybe not. I don't know. Interesting fact. So they also do them by decade or by like the 2000s. So there's a list for the top 100 Challenger Banned books from 2000 to 2009, and do you know what the number one book is? Take a guess.
What were the dates again? Give it to me.
2000 to 2009.
2000, 2009. And this is out of a list of 100, you said?
Well, they selected 100 out of all the books published during that time frame.
My guess would be Harry Potter.
I feel like you cheated and maybe looked this up.
I did not.
But yes, you were correct.
I know that was a very, and it still is, continues to be a challenge book. So.
It is the number one book with the most challenges for that time frame. Which it is the series, and that's what, like 50 books or something, right? I know it's 7, but it feels like it's 50 if you're not a Harry Potter fan, which I am really not.
Oh my goodness.
But yes, so I don't know if that's like individual books have more challenges than others or how that goes, but I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. And I know In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, I know that's a book that we recommended.
True crime.
Either last week before, I can't remember quite when, but yeah, that's one that's often on banned book lists, but again, it's a true crime.
Which, I feel like that makes it a little bit harder too, because, that's a true story. He's just writing what happened, so.
Stick that up.
But again, it makes sense because I just read the 57 Bus, and that was definitely hard to read in parts, and it's just reporting the facts, so. I can definitely understand. I need to put Intensity on my list because I have not read that one, but in a crazy good way, I feel like I need to put it on the list. I tell you what we'll do. You take Children of Blood and Bone, and I will take Intensity. Because I feel like that's more of a you book anyway.
So just, we're going to say real likes for it?
No, we're going to say you need to read it.
Oh.
Put it on your to-be-read list.
It's already there. It's already there. What's just like a feel-good book that you would recommend to people to read?
I had it when you were asking the question and it just went away. My Most Excellent Year.
Okay.
Fenway Park, Mary Poppins, and Something by Steve Kluger. I love that book. It's a YA book technically, but it's written in kind of a non-traditional way because there are email correspondence and text messages between the characters, and that sort of progresses the story forward. It's 3 high school students. They're writing it about their 9th grade year when they are 11th or 12th grade. I'm not sure which one. But you also have like side storylines with the parents, and where they're emailing each other because they're friends and they're talking about their kids and concerns that they face. But it's light, it's quick to read, it's funny. I love it.
Okay, that sounds good.
How about you? Beat that.
I was just gonna go with The Princess Bride by William Goldman.
Okay.
Have you read that one? It is just a fun book. It's an adventure book. There's a little bit of romance. I'm sure people are familiar with the movie, and yes, the book is different than the movie. I think they're both great in their own genres, but I love recommending that book because it's just fun and kind of carefree while you're reading it.
I will say I fall in the camp of having not read the book, but I have seen the movie.
Okay.
Yes, I'm a little bit ashamed of that, but I watched it when I was very, very young, before I knew that the book existed. But I have heard good things about the book. I will say that even people who really like the movie, I've heard them say, "Oh, you definitely should also read the book." So I think that's a pretty high praise.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of I feel like there's often discussions and debates of, is the book better, is the movie better, or, oh, well, if you saw the movie, don't read the book, if you read the book, don't see the movie, kind of thing.
Right.
So, you know. And I've kind of done that too. I've read the book and then seen the movie and went, oh, that was terrible. I wish I had not seen that.
Ruined it for you.
Well, it didn't necessarily ruin it for you, but you get excited to see a book that you really like be portrayed as a movie or TV show. And then if they like drastically change something that you feel is a really important part of the plot, then I feel like it just kind of ruins things. But, you know, again, my personal opinion, I know that some people just watch the movie and they think, oh, that was a good movie. So, do you have one you're about to lay some recommendations down on me?
No. I was just wondering, do we have any more?
We do not have any more comments yet. So we'll see if we have any.
No one else out there needs any more recommendations, banned books, I was gonna say regular books, other books, all different genres. Let's see. Should we share some of the titles that we've read recently I've read to my kids recently?
Sure.
Some picture books. Why, look, what's over here? I just so happen to have them.
How convenient.
I know, look at that. I came prepared. This one is called Don't Push the Button by Bill Cotter. And this is...
Wait, what is this going on here?
This right here, actually, thank you for pointing that out. This is one of our new Vox books that we have at the library, which means you can turn it on and it'll actually read the story to you and your child. There is a little plug here so they can plug in headphones so it can still be quiet while they listen to the book and then follow along. So that's really great that they can hear it as well as follow the words. But this is just a really sweet, fun book. It's interactive. There's times that you're going to be shaking the book, you're going to be pushing the button or not pushing the button, depending on the directions.
But it says don't push the button.
Well, you have to read the story to see
alert.
Why you want to push the button. But if you have an active toddler, this is a really good book to read to them. And also check out our new Vox books that we have at the library.
But you don't actually have to read it to them. It reads it to them for you, right?
And it has a little sound every time you need to change, or every time you need to turn the page. It gives, you know, a little chime or kind of rings a bell to let you know, okay, prompt me to change the page.
So kind of entertainment for kids who aren't quite there yet to do it by themselves, but, you know, can kind of help them out of, oh, okay, turn the page, do this, do that.
I feel like it's getting them ready for audiobooks because, you know, in the beginning of an audiobook, there's always like a little bit of music, kind of intro to the book. It kind of feels like that to me, but I don't know. I could be the only one thinking that.
That's just because of your sheer love of audiobooks, I'm sure. All right, so what do we have next?
Another one that I really like is a peek through picture book. This one is called Tree. It's just a really fun book because it kind of goes over the changing of the seasons and the different animals that live in this tree. And what's really fun about it is because it is a peek through book that you can see the different little animals. There's squirrels, you know, I love squirrels, one of my favorite animals, but you can kind of see, you know, at nighttime, during the day, the different seasons, and it's just really fun to, when you're reading this to your kids, you know, ask them about the different animals that they see, the different foliage, the different flowers, and you know, oh, what sound does the owl make? What sound does, you know, the different animals? So I think it's just a fun way to make a book interactive.
So these are kid-tested, kid-approved that you have tested with your family.
Absolutely. And this is a whole series too. So there's other books. There's one about bees that I thought was really cute as well. I think the illustrations, you know, especially for picture books, illustrations really help convey the message in the story. And these are just really nicely illustrated. And it's a sweet story. So I definitely recommend. This one's Tree. There's one about Moon, and that one's really fun because it has the different phases of the moon. So, you know, even at a young age, you can really start teaching them about the world around them.
So it's kind of nature related.
Yes.
The moon, the stars, bees. I assume you mean like bees.
Yes, bees.
Like,
Not the letter B. Yes, the bees going to the flowers is kind of the story of that one. But yes, it's another good one.
Very nice. So there you go. Kid tested, Allie approved. So it looks like we are out of time for today. Our poster is just barely hanging in there for the last few seconds. So I want to thank everybody who joined us today. If you want any book recommendations at any point, feel free to tag us on Facebook, Twitter, at Tampa Hills Lib. We are happy to give you recommendations anytime, so let us know. We just like to hear what you're reading. So that's all from us today, and thank you guys.
Thank you.